Hello there, it's me, Stephen Thomas. It's been a long time. Happy New Year. It's Stephen Thomas Reports on Housing. We have another housing debrief. This is season 5. Started this thing at the beginning in the throes of COVID in April of 2020 when people were saying the strangest things about the housing market. And we had to show how everybody was a little bit off based upon what the data and statistics were showing. So, this week, we're talking about housing heating up fast. And that is exactly what's happening right now. You might be wondering, how in the world is the housing market heating up so quickly when interest rates are so high? And I heard things were slowing down and what's going on in the media. And ignore what's going on in the media. They're talking about what has already happened in December, and December closed sales. That was a long time ago. That is stuff that was put under contract in October and November and then closed in December. If you're wondering what's going on right now today, tune in because we're going to talk about the available number of homes to show buyers today called supply, and then demand, a snapshot of pending sales activity. And then from that, we're going to be able to get you at the speed of the market. And I'm telling you, the speed of the market is heating up really, really fast. And first, we have to bring you up to speed on what's been going on out there. Of course, the Federal Reserve has been wanting to inflict pain on the economy, which inflicts pain on consumers as well as companies, with ratcheting up interest rates so that they can get inflation under control. And they came out swinging with their billy clubs and swords and bows and arrows and all that good stuff, starting really in August of 2022. And they have been pretty much resilient ever since, sticking to the same path of we're going down the same path. It's not going to change. It's not going to change. And they've come out what everybody refers to as extremely hawkish. And what that means is they're on the prowl. They're on the hunt. They really want to cool down the economy and cool down various sectors so that we can get inflation under control. Because that is one of their mandates, is full employment, as well as they need to keep inflation under control. So speaking of inflation under control, this is Consumer Price Index. This is CPI. And if you look on the right-hand side, the orange line, the orange arrows pointing to the purple line, that is core inflation, just a basket of goods. And you can see it's been coming down nicely. It continues to come down. A lot of people say it's still way out of hand. We know that there are some lags to this, that shelters a giant lag. But even with all the lags, comparing the very right to those two Himalayas in the middle, that is what that was the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, where we had inflation get way out of hand. This is the most recent inflation battle that we've had, all brought on by COVID. It is abating, and we know that it's going away. And this is Consumer Price Index. It gets a lot of headlines, but this is actually what the Federal Reserve follows. It looks very similar, but it's called the Personal Consumption Expenditure Index, and this is a bit different. This has already come down to 3%, and if you look at the last few months, you're actually looking at very close to where they want to be, and that's the 2% target. They want to see that it continues to be this way for several months in a row, but really at this point, they know that they are a little bit too restrictive. They are way too high as far as that short-term rate is concerned. They're at 5.5, and inflation is really quickly getting under control at this point. It's not really quickly. It didn't happen overnight, but it got to the point where right now we're looking at it, and they look overly restrictive. They know they are overly restrictive. They just met yesterday, they should have brought down the short-term rate. We've been saying about like 3/4 of a point. I would take anything. The start of a quarter point and a few quarter points in a row. But the Fed typically is late to the party as far as looking at the analytics that we're looking at. I know that they're looking at everything, and they talk about looking at everything, but I'm telling you that they're a little bit slow and behind the curve, and they're not pushing out the trends far enough to really see what's taking place. As a matter of fact, like I said, they met this week. They said that they're not changing anything yet, but their language has definitely changed, and it started in December. There was a big big shift from when they met in September, where they came out probably a bit too aggressive, too hawkish, inflicted pain, and as a result, everybody believed them that these rates would last a lot longer than what they originally anticipated, and rates floated all the way up to 8%. They didn't like it, and then we saw some of the economic readings starting to show trends that they were slowing down, and then we got to December. And December, every quarter they come out. September is one of the quarters. They come out and they meet about every 6 weeks, but quarterly, they give what their forecasts are for the short-term rate going forward. And from October, they said that there was going to be one rate cut in 2024. And in December, they changed their tune and they said there will be 3 in 2024. And as a matter of fact, they changed their tune so much, their language changed, that their language changed to a more dovish posture. They're no longer on the prowl. It's kind of like it's a wait and see type of attitude that they're taking, but we know underlying that they're too restrictive and they need to come down. And some of the reports economic reports that we're starting to read are showing that they need to come down. Now, when they changed their tune in December, this is what I refer to as a green shoot. Green shoot is when you have frozen tundra and all of a sudden we're getting to springtime and out pops a little bit of growth, something that's positive. And that's what we're seeing in this data. This is something positive for the housing market, because the housing market has been in a really cold, deep freeze ever since rates started to really climb the second half of 2022 all through 2023. Demand reached a real bottom floor, as well as the number of homes coming on the market reached a real bottom floor, and it had a lot to do with these really, really high interest rates. So what the Fed is actually hinting towards is a shift in policy, where they're going to be coming down a little bit off of where their short-term rate is, and this shift will result in rates coming down. Now, this shift in just speaking has already had an impact on the 10-year Treasury. And you could see where we were in the Himalaya, we got really high. I follow the 10-year Treasury, as do everybody that is lending, and as I think everybody should, because when the yield on this is going down, guess what? Interest rates are going down. I wake up in the morning, this is one of the first things I look at. Then when the yield is going up, interest rates are going up. So this was, today we had a big giant drop, and this is actually, since close, it's actually dropped a little bit further as well. So we're really getting the 10-year Treasury coming down. You can see how far it's come down since we've had 8% interest rates, which is right around there. So you could see that it's come down quite a bit. Kind of snuck up because some of the readings for December were more positive than what expectations were. But then most recently, some of the readings were less than expectations, and there's enough out there where we're starting to see that this is really going to slow the economy. The economy is going to slow from the extra hot year that we had in 2023. Now, as far as mortgage rates are concerned, you can see that we were all the way up at 8%. That's the red line, and then it dove down. That dive was a change in language from the Fed, as well as some different economic readings. And that blue arrow is when the Fed met in December, and we got a gigantic drop in interest rates. So we had a big giant drop in interest rates after the Fed met in December, and then they floated up higher, but then they sunk down again within the last couple days, and that's where we are today at 6.63% the interest rates. So when the economy is still hot and hasn't quite cooled down, we're going to play anywhere from 6.5 really to 7.5. That going from 7.5 to 8% was a bit much, and that was just the Fed pushing this as far as they possibly could until interest rates got too prohibitive, and then they started to change their tune, as well as some of the readings came out that show that the economy was slowing. So now we're at 6.63%, but as that shift comes, we're going to see interest rates fall to that next level between 6 and 6.5%, but that we have to see the economy cool. Most likely in jobs. Matter of fact, we get a job reading tomorrow, Friday, and that is the 2nd of February. So you're wondering, okay, why with these low rates would the housing market heat up? Well, when we were at 8%, you could do the math. And I show this slide a lot. I just changed the numbers from $4,000 to $2,500. If you want a $4,000 per month monthly payment, and you're looking at putting 20% down. When rates were at 8%, you could afford, just principal and interest, a $681,000 house. And now you can see it's making its way all the way down to, or down to 6.5%, very close to that, where you're able to afford a $791,000 house. So you're able to afford a lot more home, $110,000 more of a house. And then as interest rates fall further, you can see 6%, $833,000, 5.5% at $880, and people are going, that's not going to happen. But let me tell you, our forecast is for us to have a 5 handle the second half of 2024. And when that happens, 5 is going to be huge because everybody actually heard the 8% interest rates, and with interest rates getting down to 5 in the 5s, it is really going to change a lot of thinking. We're already going to get more and more buyers that enter the marketplace as interest rates fell from 8% all the way down to where they are today. But more buyers will enter as it gets closer towards 6%, and especially as it gets into the 5s. And then we'll get more homeowners that are coming on the market because they've been sitting on the sidelines enjoying their extra low rates. But there comes a point where people just need to make a move. There are lifetime circumstances, different circumstances that happen. Like you get married, you have kids, and you're outgrowing your place, and you want to live closer to family members. You get relocated for a job. There's a lot of reasons that people move, and sometimes they stay put for so long that it comes to a point where they're just ready to pull the trigger. And more and more people are getting to that. So let's talk about the housing market and the impact with lower rates and what is going on today. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor. Our sponsor is Jason Thibodeau with JMJ Financial, and he's the manager over there. He does a phenomenal job, super cool to work with. He's been doing this. He's been lending for a very long time, and he can be reached at 714-330-8263. That's 714-330-8263. They have a ton of different programs, earnest money deposit insurance, where your deposit with a $1,995 fee to insure the $50,000 or 5% of the purchase price if you put down a big earnest money deposit. They've got those kind of programs, as well as a lock and shop program where you can lock your rate, because who knows, if we get a good reading tomorrow and rates drop a lot, as far as if the jobs report comes out where there are a lot fewer jobs created than expectations, we could get rates that come down. You might want to lock. So they have a lock and shop options. They also have 2-1 buy downs that they can do. They have a number of programs to help get that interest rate lower, and you need to tap into their services. Their methodology is simple. We don't make promises we can't keep. And when you have decades of experience, this is exactly what happens. So you just get a lot of service, and you get somebody that's extremely knowledgeable, like Jason Thibodeau at JMJ Financial. He can be reached at 714-330-8263. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate the sponsorship. Now back to the broadcast, and here we are, the housing market. Now the housing market, we have been 2023 was definitely one of those where it seemed like we were at the end of our peanut butter jar, and we were just scraping it as far as pending sales activity. That is the lowest that we've seen for pending sales activity, especially high cost areas like Southern California and the Bay Area. Haven't really seen this level of pending sales activity in decades. And that's just because of the lack of homes available and where interest rates are, the combination of the two. So we have low demand, a very low demand scraping the bottom, and we have very few homes that were available as well. That's scraping the bottom. That part of that problem is people are locked into these low mortgage rates, and as a result, they haven't been placing their homes on the market. So the number of homes that stayed off and didn't come on the market compared to what normally comes on the market, it too is an all-time low that I do not think will repeat anytime soon. As long as I do these, I think that's how low it was for 2023. Now, I also need to explain, there are different seasons of housing, and they don't line up perfectly with the seasons, but pretty close. So the spring market starts March and ends at the on June 1st, when graduations take place. Things start to slow down the end of May. Then we get into the summer market, so June 1st all the way until about the third week of August. Then we roll into the fall. The fall is from around the very, very end of August through until we get to the second week of November. And then we enter the holidays. The holiday markets is from the middle of November all the way to the middle of January. We are beyond the middle of January. That is where we are today. We are in the winter market. Now, the winter market is when supply does not change much. It can go up a little bit, it can go sideways a little bit, or it can go down a little bit. But it doesn't spike or anything like that. That's not typical at all for winter. It's pretty much flat. But demand surges. We get demand that comes up. Now, we are getting more homes on the market, but a lot of them are going into pending status really quick. So if you have supply that's maintaining, but you have demand that's surging, the market gets hotter and hotter, and that is what is happening today. Now, the winter market lasts from the middle of January all the way to the middle of March, when the spring market begins. But the hottest point in the market actually typically is right around the beginning of March, because there's still not a lot of homes coming on the market, yet demand is surging. More homes come on the market in April, and the most homes come on the market in the month of May. Now, already that is a recipe for housing getting extremely hot. And part of this issue is we have this housing shortage. So we're going to look at supply and demand. Supply is really low, demand's really low, but we'll show you exactly where it's at so you understand why things are so hot. Now, as far as the inventory across the United States is concerned, the latest reading that was in December, we were at 1 million homes on the market. There were 4 million where those Himalayas were there during the Great Recession, or right prior to the Great Recession. That's where you have a glut of homes available. Today, we have a chronically low inventory. People don't understand this. This is why the market won't implode, because we don't have enough supply. We have a lack of homes available, especially in the entry-level ranges. So those entry-level ranges are still going like hotcakes, and they're already screaming white hot right now at the start of February. Now, we snapped the numbers today, and this is the Southern California active listing inventory. Now, I'm just doing SoCal right now. We do the Bay Area as well. We're about to launch Phoenix and Vegas. So we do other areas we bring in the country. But I really want to hone in on some of the numbers so people understand why things are getting so hot. And this is just a kind of an example of what's going on in the rest of the country. But today, in all of Southern California, there are 20,135 homes. I'm pointing a big orange arrow at that purple line. Now, at the beginning, there were some housing analysts that were saying, look, we're getting a lot more inventory all of a sudden. This is going to be a different year. And I knew that was kind of going to be a head fake. We'll have to see where we're going from here, because we're actually getting more homes coming on the market. But they're going into escrow so fast under pending status that it is flatlined from week to week. It went up 0% in the last 2 weeks. So it was almost the same as 2 weeks ago. Now, last year we were at 21,731. That's the blue line, just a little bit above it. It was actually dropping at this point last year, and it was dropping across the country. So the good news is we're not dropping like we were last year, but here in Southern California, it's actually less than where we were last year. And for the rest of the country, it's actually a little bit more than where we were last year as a country. But now that's 8% more is where we were last year. Pre-COVID, that's 2017, 18, and 19, when things were normal, we had close to 35,000 homes on the market. That's that green dot up there. So we had a lot more homes on the market prior to COVID. So you could see, and this is not even where we were. You couldn't even tell that there was any kind of a glut of homes available. That was just when things were normal at this time of the year. And if you look at, that's where we had about 1.5 million houses that were available at the beginning of the year for the United States. And 1.5 million is still is a normal level, and that's plenty of homes that are on the market. But it's not too many homes. It's not a glut of homes. Matter of fact, we would make our way all the way up towards 2 million homes, as you can see on this chart. These were each of those little Himalayas is a year. So as far as where are we going from here, as far as the inventory is concerned, it's going to probably remain flat and stay flat. That's what our hypothesis is. I don't think we're going to go down much. We could get a little bit of a rise, but it's not going to be much. That rise would come probably or maybe earlier this year, hopefully in February, but this rise won't be much. So it's going to be relatively flat because of what is being placed under pending status. Now, homeowners are kicking back in their homes. And you could see this in California, 85%, they're hunkering down. They're not moving because they're just enjoying their low rates. Through the third quarter of 2023, from the National Mortgage Database, 85% of Californians have an interest rate of 5% or lower. These percentages are a little bit lower for the rest of the country, but they're pretty high for California. 69% have an interest rate of 4% or lower, and 30% have an interest rate of 3% or lower. Now, because of that, fewer people have been coming on the market. Now, I can show you this. Now, in the initial COVID lockdown, we were missing 25,000 homes for that year, 2020, for all of Southern California. Now, that was entirely due to COVID. There weren't enough people that were locked into low rates because a lot of people refinanced and then purchased homes at these low rates, but that was because of the pandemic. Now, if you flash forward to 2022, yes, people had those higher rates. As a matter of fact, the percentages were even greater. And in 2022, we were missing 19% or 51,200 for sale signs. Now, this is comparing each month to the same month from 2017, 18, and 19. About the same number of homes come on the market for on a monthly basis. Now, that was 2022. Now, in 2023, missing 38% or 102,700 for sale signs. There were over 100,000 fewer sellers that normally come on the market. This eats into the number of pending sales, which eats into the number of closed sales. This is precisely what's going on. Yes, the higher rates would have precluded homes from selling, but you would have seen, if the normal number came on, you would have seen values deteriorate because we would have had more product and values would come down and it would entice more buyers to come into the marketplace. We wouldn't be looking at decades low numbers of sales for the year 2023. Now, I do want to show you, now that was 2023. Now I'm showing you where 2024 is, and I have these purple lines. Those purple arrows, I'm showing you January of 2024 versus January of 2023. The arrow that's at the start of 2023, you could see that there were fewer homes that came on the market compared to that 3-year average than this January. There's still a lot less than prior to COVID, but it's moving in the right direction, and you can actually see it here. The orange line is pointing towards the end of the year, and you can see that we've actually reached a bottom. 2023, each month was looking very similar to 2022. Some markets were a little bit higher, some markets were a little bit lower, but you could see following that line until we got to January of 2024, and you could see that's that purple dot. I'm pointing to it with a light purple arrow. There are more homes that came on the market in January of 2024 than January of 2023, that blue line right below it. So that is absolutely fantastic news. It means more homes coming on the market, which is another green shoot. Already 2 green shoots. Rates come down, and then we have more homeowners coming on the market. It might not be as many as where we were before, but you know what? It is better than where we were before. Because if you look at January of 2023, we were missing over 40% the number of homes that normally come on the market in January. This year, it's about 31% fewer homes that came on the market. So moving in the right direction. No, it's not the same number as prior to COVID, but there are more homes coming on the market. Because you remember, there are still a lot of people that are enjoying their low fixed rate. Just more people are going, you know what, I'm tired of waiting. I want to make a move. So that's why we're seeing more homes coming on the market. Now let's look at the demand side of things. Now to the demand side of things, where are we? Very low. Normal would be a lot higher. That green dot is where we normally be right now. That's where we started off 2022 at a normal level. Today we're at 9,597, which is up 25% in just a 2-week period of time. That purple line is literally sitting right on top of last year at the start of the year. because we started off with fewer homes on the market. We're placing everything into pending status, and there's more that's coming on, where this will actually outpace the blue line based upon what we're seeing so far in just really close recent numbers the last week. Last year we were at 9,618, almost virtually the same as where we are today. And the pre-COVID is at 14,041. That's almost 15,000 homes. That's where that green dot is right there. Now I want to show you where we feel that demand is going to go this year based upon exactly kind of where we feel rates are going to go, that they're going to go down. We actually think later on in the spring we're going to get enough of a slowdown where we're going to see more demand. Now that is our best. We actually give that like a 50% chance. It might this slower season. We're not talking a recession, just a slowdown. It might not be until the summer, and we give that like another 45% chance. We think that beyond summer is like a 5% chance that it slows down later, but it's not going to be like a head fake like last year. Everything is kind of dialing up where we should see a slowdown within the first half of this year, between spring and summer for sure. So that's where we think demand's going to be. You can see that's higher than where the blue line was. That's last year. That's more pending sales. It might not be as many as where we were in prior years. Definitely not. However, it is definitely making up the difference from where we were in prior years to the low that we established last year. Now, the speed of the market, where are we? How fast are we going? Well, today we're at 63 days. It's dropped 16 days in the last 2-week period of time. That's because demand surged, inventory remained flat, actually went down a tiny bit. So you have, when you have inventory remaining the same and you have demand surging, that's where the market's getting hotter. And this is what we mean by we know that the market is only going to get hotter as this winter time continues. Last year at this time we were at 68 days. That's the blue line. If you draw a line straight up at 68 versus the 63. And the pre-COVID is at 76 days. I didn't even place a dot, but that's higher than where we are today. And you could see that orange and red line were ridiculously low. That is where we have an expected market time less than 40 days. That is not a normal market. That is an insane market. We were like that across the United States when there's nothing available and demand is surging forever or a really high pace. When that happens, we have values that are screaming higher. And that is what happened for like 2 years across the United States and in Southern California. And what we anticipate where we go from here is, you can see, we actually think it's going to come down. It's going to be very close to where we were last year, but it's going to remain flat. Last year, the reason why that blue line went up and the orange line went up, that's not normal. Expected market time, the speed doesn't really slow from about the midpoint of the year to the end of the year. People say December is the best time to purchase. There are other reasons, but there aren't as many homes coming on the market. People are pulling their homes off the market. So the speed is actually relatively the same, does not change much. It only changes when interest rates continue to scream higher, and that is where we got a buildup of inventory in 2022, the orange line, and 2023, the blue line. And we got all the way up to 7.37% interest rates in October of 2022 and 8% interest rates in October of 2023. And this year, the reverse is going to happen. We see that interest rates are going to be a little bit more accommodative to buyers as this year progresses. That will result in then that the expected market time remaining the same, or could even heat up depending upon what happens with rates. So we will know more as we know more. So this year's story, actually 2023, at the beginning of last year, we hit 7.37% interest rates in October of 2022, and then interest rates came down all the way to 5.99% on February 2nd of 2023. That coming down made the affordability crisis that we had get a little bit better. It was a problem, but it got better. And then people were getting used to these higher rates, but they had come down a little bit. And the supply scarcity at the start of last year was there was nothing available. But then as the year progressed, affordability got worse and supply increased. So the supply scarcity got a little bit better, affordability got a little bit worse, and it became this tug of war between what favors sellers and buyers. And then now we're back to Supply scarcity is again an issue, and the affordability crisis just improved from 8% to where we are today at about 6.67%. So making its way towards 6.5%. So we went from a hot seller's market during the winter and spring of last year to a more balanced market by the end of the year, but then with demand surging and supply actually dropping at the end of the year and remaining flat right now, we are back to a hot seller's market where negotiations they favor sellers. So I just want to thank you for tuning in. You know what? If you like this content, please, I invite you to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way more and more people can get their eyeballs on this content if you enjoyed it and you think more people should be watching this rather than the perma bears that have been calling for a crash for several years and will continue to for as long as you will listen. And so go to reportsonhousing.com. Please subscribe. And the most recent one that came out is called A Red Hot Winter. And we're going to have a new report for along the coast of SoCal. That is Orange County, LA, and San Diego. We'll have a new one coming out. And if you subscribe by going to reportsonhousing.com, Feb24, that is the coupon. FEB24, that is the coupon for a free month. And please, I invite you to listen to our podcast. You can listen to my son, Brennan, who works with us since he graduated from Washington State University. Latest one's called Facing Expectations. We'll be recording a new one tomorrow that will be coming out next Wednesday. They come out every 2 weeks. So I just want to thank you so much for tuning in to Season 5, Episode 1. Thank you so very much. I hope you have a fantastic finish to your week, and we will see you on the other side for Season 5, Episode 2.